Welcome back to Newsviews. I'm Judy Sue. My guest here this morning is Rami Nashashibi, the executive director and one of the founders of the Inner City Muslim Action Network. He was also just named a MacArthur Genius. I love that title. That grant, by the way, what we want to let everybody know, it does come with a $625,000 grant to do with it whatever you wish, no strings attached. Have you thought about what you're going to do with this?
I really haven't processed it. Now, that's over a period of 5 years.
That's right, yes.
And it comes and after taxes, you know, and all that stuff. But, I mean, one of the first things I thought of, honestly, was just, you know, after a long period of time in any area of work, you want spiritual, creative renewal. And in our tradition, in the Muslim tradition, there's a spiritual journey called the Hajj that I have not made. And it's, so the first thing that I, you know, thought about was, okay, this is my moment to make that journey and hopefully continue to revive and resuscitate that kind of spiritual energy that really animates much of this work.
I also just want to add, if you go on to the MacArthur Foundation website and read a little bit more about this award, it really, they say, I think the wording is, you know, it's awarded for recipients who demonstrate extraordinary creativity and also in their extraordinary commitment to the community. So I just want to put it out there. So congratulations once again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Take us through a little bit about your childhood. I just want to know, like, when you were growing up, you came to Chicago in 1990, but your mom, you know, has deep roots here. So take us through a little bit of that. And did you ever imagine this for yourself?
No, you know, I've been joking. You know, I've been called a lot of things in my life. Genius is not one of them. And part of it was, you know, I jumped around the world a lot. You know, I was born in the Middle East, lived in Europe, lived in Eastern Europe, and moved schools almost every other year or so. And so, you know, there's a real sense of uprootedness, and my family is also Palestinian American, so my mother herself was a Palestinian refugee of May 1948, and I think that's kind of part of the larger Palestinian narrative. And I certainly did not ever think I would have been doing this type of work for my entire life, nor ever get this type of award. You know, at a certain point, 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, I got infected with the hip-hop bug and came to the United States, and I think I always credit in great part, you know, the artistic, creative genius behind, you know, hip hop led by Black and brown kids in urban communities as part of inspiring me with the vision of what bringing disconnected communities together can look like. And so I think that actually informed, along with my spiritual kind of path, really helped to inform a lot of the organizing work that I kind of stumbled into, and then at a certain point realized that this was going to be a life calling.
Safe to say that right now we are in some interesting times. There's a lot of rhetoric out there when it comes to social justice. How would you describe the environment right now?
Well, you know, I think there is, you know, both. As an American Muslim, certainly, I feel the very kind of intense national anti-Muslim rhetoric has really been part of the climate that I think is a symptom of people not knowing one another and only relying on that 30-second soundbite of who we are, and oftentimes those sound bites don't really lend the full picture of the dynamic past and how embedded some of those histories are here in the United States. So part of the hope with the award is the kind of legacy of American Muslim activism in urban centers that I'm an extraordinary beneficiary of, particularly in African American communities and urban centers across America, is something that I really hope is lifted. I also think, to your question, that we're in a moment where there's a lot of calling out of injustices, and I certainly really appreciate that. We need to call out long-standing systemic structural injustices. But I think part of my spiritual inclination, and this has been informed by Muslims as much as it is by rabbis and Pentecostal preachers and Lakota elders, is that we also need to call up. We need to call up to an aspirational ideals about the world as it could be. And I think so much of our work at Iman over the last 20 years has been how do we radically reimagine a world that can look better at a very neighborhood level? Because all we need are models, that we can do better, and we have the capacity, we have the cultural genius in a city like Chicago from, those like Kevin Koval, I think, who's, led the largest poetry slam to the Rhyme Fest of the world, that are here in Chicago, that are bringing spiritual traditions and creative communities together. I'm a proud product of this city, and I think in spite of some of the negative news that we have and the real harsh realities that we live in, there's such extraordinary hope, and I think that's what animates me in the work that I do.
And that is a perfect way of wrapping up this segment. It's a great challenge for all of us, right, to answer that calling and lift up. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Sunday Morning. Again, one of the recipients of the Genius Award. That does it for Newsviews. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Now let's go back to the news desk.